Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be reacting to a video called 20 German words Americans use all the time and their real meaning. I don't know if it's going to be like actual German words, that Germans use in their daily life and also Americans have sort of like adapted them or adopted them in their vernacular, or it's going to be like American words that have their origin in Germany. That they sort of, they changed it a little bit and then, nobody knows like where it comes from, but the origin of this word is actually German. I don't know if it's going to be like that because, I don't know, because actually come to think about it, I don't know how much of an influence Germany had in the American vernacular. I was gonna say English, but it's just American, like how Americans talk. I know obviously like a lot of German immigrants in the USA. So maybe it's more than I'm imagining, and probably that we think there are, because obviously the people adapted them, so it's not gonna be like, oh, that's German. So if you're in Germany, you're gonna be like, oh wait, that's a word I recognize, and it's because you guys use it, because you kind of stole it, obviously not stole it, but you know what I mean. So let's check it out and comment, like, subscribe, and start.
You have definitely used these words before in English, maybe even on a daily basis, but did you know that they're actually German? Hello, servus, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Felicia. I'm originally from Munich, Germany, but I have been living in Cincinnati, Ohio, off and on since 2016. So a few weeks ago, I made a video about 20 English words that we use in German, and a lot of them actually have a completely different meaning in German than they do in English, like old-timer, just to give one example, which refers to an old person in English, but to German speakers, an old-timer is a vintage car. Check out the video to find out about the other 19 English words that we use differently in German. But today I'll talk about the opposite, basically, so about German words that are used in English.
Also,
there aren't
nearly necessarily
as many German words in English as there are English words in German, but there are actually more than you would think. And a lot of them are words that people use all the time, but they don't really know that it's a German word. And even I wasn't really aware of how many German words are used in English. So for me, it was
until she moved and was like, wait, why are you speaking like that?
I first heard someone use one of those words. Like, they're just saying something in English and suddenly I'm like, wait, what? You just spoke German?
It must be a trip.
So for today's video, I made a list of 20 German words that are used in English, and I just picked the ones that are either used a lot or that I just thought were funny or interesting. But before we start with the list, I'd like to introduce today's sponsor, Skillshare, which is an online learning community that offers thousands of classes for creative and curious people. So there are a lot of video classes about photography, video making, interior design, and those kind of things. But you can also learn languages on there, German for example if you want to, or even learn more about entrepreneurship. And especially in times like these, when we're all struggling with new challenges and all of this uncertainty, it can be a great way to stay inspired or practice some self-care by expressing yourself creatively, like by taking a journaling or painting class, for example. I've actually taken a class called Simple Productivity: How to Accomplish More with Less, taught by Greg McEwen, and it was really helpful for me because I've been struggling with structuring myself and staying motivated these past few weeks. Maybe you can relate. And my biggest takeaway was to focus on what's essential to me personally and how I can prioritize that. So if you're interested in joining Skillshare as well, make sure to check out the link in the description below, because the first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link will get a 2-month free trial of premium membership so that you can explore your creativity. And now here are 20 German words that are used in English.
Kindergarten.
Let's start with one of the most known ones, and that is kindergarten. In German, we pronounce it Kindergarten, and it literally means children's garden. And even though the word is used in a very similar way in the two languages, it's not 100% the same. In Germany, kindergarten isn't part of the school system, but it's more like a daycare. Kids can go there from the age of 3 up until they start first grade, but it's not mandatory for parents to send their kids to kindergarten.
Oh, you don't have
and there's
to.
no mandatory curriculum either. Some kids may practice math and writing in kindergarten, but it's not a class setting, and the focus is usually more on playing and activities like
Of course,
doing
they're
crafts, singing together, going on field trips and those kind of things. While in the US, kindergarten is the year before first grade, and it's part of the school system. That's why it's also called K to 12, kindergarten to 12th grade. So the kindergartens usually belong to a school and are a little more focused on academics. So same word, but different meaning in Germany and the US.
But it's similar.
And what I find funny is that the German concept of kindergarten is what Americans also call preschool sometimes, while Vorschule, the literal translation for preschool in
Totally
German,
different.
basically stands for the American concept of kindergarten. So it's somewhat switched. Some German kindergartens do offer a Vorschule the year before first grade to prepare the kids a little academically.
So like kindergarten.
I actually had no clue that Americans used this German word before I came here, and the first time I heard it, it sounded so funny to me. Gesundheit is what we say for bless you in German, and Americans seem to use it that way too. Especially among younger people, I found that they usually use it in a more funny way, but it can also be just used with a normal tone.
That's
the word
totally
itself
German influence.
actually just means health in German, so
like German
whenever someone
immigrants.
sneezes, we wish them health.
That's, I think, a lot of countries use that, actually.
I didn't know that this word was
Ooh,
used
yeah.
in English before I moved to the US. We spell it with 2 T's in Germany, but we pronounce it the same way, kaputt. And it basically has the same meaning in both languages. It means broken, damaged,
done,
destroyed, as in
over.
My phone is kaputt,
It's over.
mein Handy ist kaputt. Or it can also mean exhausted, as in, I went hiking for 8 hours today and I'm so kaputt.
Destroyed.
Ich bin heute
like
8
destroyed.
Stunden gewandert. Ich bin total kaputt. And just like in German, where we
It
say
sounds,
etwas geht
it sounds the
kaputt,
same.
you also say something goes kaputt in English.
Yeah. Oh, doppelganger, that's also a universal word.
Is doppelganger, especially because it seems kind of funny to me that you would use a rather long German word that even has an umlaut. I mean, okay, in English it's usually written with just an A, but people could also just say look-alike or double in English. Why?
You're right, yes.
Anyway, I think it's
so
fun,
true.
and I think I first found out about this when I watched the American show How I Met Your Mother in English as a teenager, because that's like a whole theme on that show, to find all the main characters' doppelgangers.
Of your doubles?
This one I just recently used in my video on alcohol culture in Germany and the US.
Alcohol culture.
And I have to say that it still feels kind of weird to me every time I use this word in English, or even when I just hear it, because it actually has a completely different meaning in German. Bierstein, or just Stein,
what does it mean in
English
Germany?
refers to a beer mug, traditionally made out of stoneware, but it can also refer to the more modern glass mugs, while in German, Stein means stone, and the beer mug is called Bierkrug. Some of my German viewers actually commented on my alcohol video and told me that in some parts of Rheinland-Pfalz, in the western part of Germany, people also use the word Stein when they refer to a liter of something.
So that's where it comes from.
Say, Ein Stein Bier bitte, 1 liter of beer, please.
Beer, please.
It seems to be a regional thing, though. I had never heard about this before, and I'm curious if there is any connection to the English use of the word.
It has to be,
but I couldn't really find anything about this, so let me know if you know more about it.
It's probably, again, German immigrants.
The next one is Spiel, and even though this has a different meaning than the word does in German, I really like the English meaning because we don't really have a German equivalent for it. In English,
like your parody
is a kind of speech, especially one that is long and spoken quickly and is intended to persuade the person listening about something. So this is often used in sales situations, and for example, you could say something like
a salesman,
they gave me the whole spiel about why their university is the best in the country. In German, Spiel, capitalized, simply means game,
to play.
And spielen means to play.
Oh, well, just game. That's so interesting.
This one is not exactly a loan word from the German language, but it does have Germanic origins, And I included it in this list because I personally think that it sounds exactly like the German word Stuhl. But it's actually a so-called false friend because it has a different meaning in the two languages.
Yeah, because I was going to be like,
German
what?
is a chair, while Stuhl in English is what we call Hocker in German.
Yeah, it's a
kind
stool.
of similar, but not quite the same thing.
Yes, it's not a chair, it's a stool.
Dachshund.
Oh,
when Americans first used
like the
this
breed?
word with me, I had no clue what they were talking about because I wasn't familiar with the word, and I also couldn't tell that it was supposed to be a German word with the English pronunciation. But now
So you didn't understand.
Dachshund can be used in German as well, but it's actually more common to call the dogs Dackel in German. Literally, this compound word consists of Dachs,
abbreviated.
badger, and Hund, dog. A badger dog, basically.
A badger
this is
dog?
because the dogs were traditionally supposed to crawl into burrows and look for badgers.
Badgers? Oh, wow, that's so interesting.
In English, this can also be used to describe a Dachshund, wiener dog, but it can also refer to just a wiener sausage,
Yes.
or it's also often used instead of penis. In German, we say Wiener. The German W is pronounced like in English V, and it usually refers to the sausage. Wiener Würstchen would be the long version. It can also refer to a Wiener Schnitzel, which is also something to eat, or it
like
can
a
simply
meat,
be used for a person from the Austrian city of Vienna, which is Wien in German.
Wow, didn't know that.
Wanderlust.
That's how you pronounce Vienna?
This is kind of an old-fashioned German word
What?
that we
That's a
pronounce
German word?
Wanderlust, and it's literally the desire to wander. So it means you want to travel. The word was used a lot in the literature of the Romantic era, but you can also call this Reiselust or Fernweh in German, which the last one is also an interesting word because it's kind of like the opposite of Heimweh, which is homesickness. So Fernweh pretty much means far sickness.
And it's home as well. It's like how you.
This one is very similar to the German one, but it's not 100% the same. Angst, capitalized in German and with the German A, basically just means fear. And angst in English is also related to
but it's both
fear,
negatives.
but it describes a broader feeling of anxiety and apprehension. It's often used in connection with teenagers. Teenage angst is what a lot of young people experience throughout puberty.
Emo.
And you can also say you're feeling angsty in English. So in English, it describes more of a general feeling, whereas in German, Angst haben means to be scared of something, and that's usually something a little more specific, like you're scared of the spider. The English meaning of angst doesn't have a good translation in German, but it could be translated with something like Existenzangst or innere Unruhe or Angstzustände.
It's like existence angst.
Kitsch is a concept that's really hard to explain, actually.
Kitsch,
but according to the dictionary, it describes art, decorative objects, or design considered by many people to be ugly, without style, or false, but enjoyed by many other people, often because they are funny. So you could say, his home is full of 1950s kitsch. It means the same thing in German and in English, and it's also pronounced the same. There's also the English adjective kitschy, which is kitschig in German.
It's almost the same, basically.
This is a military term and describes a strategy of warfare that includes short and fast attacks. The term is often used in connection with World War II, but it actually had been used way before that. We pronounce it Blitzkrieg in German, and it literally translates to lightning war, because Blitz is lightning and Krieg is war. It's used the same way in both languages, and they even adapted the word Blitz as a tactic in American football.
Oh, I didn't know that.
This seems to be a very popular word in the US. I've been asked about this so many times. And what makes it so special is that this concept doesn't even really exist in the English language, which is why there isn't an English word to describe it, which is probably quite a strong statement about the German culture. Schadenfreude consists of Schaden, which means damage or harm.
You're happy about it.
Which means joy. So this is the joy that you feel when someone else gets harmed or fails. So not very nice.
Just like, what does it mean about, what does that say about German culture?
This one. Fußball in German means soccer, or football in British English. Fußball in English refers to the bar game, which we usually call Kicker or Tischfußball in German.
Zeitgeist. That's
This is
also like a
another
general
concept
word.
that doesn't have its
Yeah.
own English translation, just like Schadenfreude, and therefore the German
I love how
word
she
is used
pronounces
in
it.
English and some other languages too. Americans usually say Zeitgeist. In German, we pronounce it Zeitgeist, and this consists
Very
of the
similar,
word
actually.
Zeit, which means time, and Geist, which means spirit. So Zeitgeist is the spirit of the time, which
time.
describes what's going
What's
on
happening.
culturally, religiously, and intellectually during a certain time period. Woodstock was part of the 1960s Zeitgeist, for example. And in English, they even made it an adjective, which we don't even have in German, Zeitgeisty.
I've actually never heard of
Schnapps.
it like
This
that.
one I also mentioned in my video on alcohol
Like the
culture.
drink?
In German, we spell it like this and say Schnaps, and it means hard
Schnaps?
liquor. In English, it's mostly used as part of the name of certain liquors,
the-
like
the brand,
peppermint
yeah.
schnapps or peach schnapps. Wunderkind in English, Wunderkind in German, and this
Because it
literally
always pronounced like
translates
the
to
V.
miracle child. Wunder is miracle, kind
Miracle
is
kid.
child. So it
Child.
describes a person that is very clever or talented and becomes successful at a young age. One of the most common examples for a Wunderkind is Mozart.
Yeah, like the poster
Poltergeist.
child.
This looks a
Poltergeist,
little bit
that's
similar
German?
to Zeitgeist. Poltern means to clatter,
They all use
and
the
Geist
same,
means ghost
like,
or spirit, and this particularly describes a ghost that makes noises in the house and moves objects. Whether you believe in that or not is a different story.
Yeah. Or
And
schmutz.
last but not least, the final word on my list is Schmutz. This one is pronounced and used the same way in both languages,
Oh, it's the
and
same,
it means
okay.
dirt. And schmutzy in English
have
or
schmutz on your face.
schmutzig in German means dirty.
Oh, of course they add the little like the G
So
and
this was
stuff.
my list of 20 German words that are used in English, and there are many, many more, of course, especially
Yeah.
regarding food, like pretzel, bratwurst, or
Of course,
Hefeweizen,
pretzel.
just to name a few examples.
Bratwurst.
If you're interested in this, you should also definitely check out the channel Kelly Does Her Thing, because she has talked about German loanwords in English too recently. Let me know in the comments below what other German words you like to use in English and what you thought of the ones that I mentioned. Were there any surprises? Do you use
So
them
many
differently than what
surprises.
I described? Feel free to share your thoughts with me and with everyone else. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to check out my video on English words that are used in German as well, and also all of my videos on culture differences, of course. And if you're not a subscriber yet, make sure to subscribe to my channel for free. You can also follow me on Instagram, and if you want to support me even more than by subscribing or giving me a thumbs up, check out my new Patreon page, and if you want to, you can become a patron for this channel and get some exclusive behind the scenes insights or get to participate in a Q&A session with me. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you next time. Tschüss!
Yeah, I think this was very interesting because I kind of like she says only a few actually, but there's like so many of them that I was like, wait, I didn't know that. But if come to think about it, of course, like if and she didn't even got into food, which I think like she said is gonna be like so many. When she said like pretzel, I was like, oh my god, of course, like pretzel is literally like it's the German word. It doesn't translate to anything because it's just like the type of baked good. So it's like I can't translate that. It's just a pretzel. So it's really interesting. Maybe bagel also comes from Germany. I don't know, but it was very interesting. Something that really does like I'm surprised with the amount of words that actually like do mean the same thing, because something like again like kindergarten, it's sort of like the root is similar, but obviously because the educational systems are different, obviously they're not going to mean the same thing. But others like zeitgeist, which I think it's a word that I think probably a lot of people in a lot of languages use because it doesn't translate, it doesn't have like another translation. Or doppelganger as well. Like I can't change the word because that's just like the way that people like, it's just a word that it perfectly expresses like the feeling or what you're trying to say, that I can't translate that. So I think it's wonderful, and like wow, thankfully like the German language has so many like great words that you're gonna have to we need to adapt them. Like we have to adopt them in different cultures because it perfectly encapsulates like what we're trying to say. I think something that also is very interesting is that a lot of them have you know, like you either it switches, right? But the adjective, like you can use it as an adjective, like use it as an adjective, like the, I think it was like zeitgeisty was one that you can use it like that in the United States. Apparently, I've never actually heard of it use it like that, but apparently like it's a thing. And but in German, like they don't really have that, obviously, because again, people talk differently, they speak different, so of course they're gonna change it a little bit. But it's funny that in German there was another word that I can't remember it now, that they just sort of like added the like the little like the y and that's like, and that makes an adjective. It's like, oh, it's interesting. And also I think the German, I think I don't really know much about that about German, but I think something when she was like translating like what the word actually means, and it's interesting that a lot of them are actually like their combination of two words, like wonderkin, that was one. This is like child, like miracle child, miracle kid. It's just like two words put together. And the guys as well, like poltergeist is like also guys is ghost. So obviously like there's a lot of things that probably like you can get just by knowing those things, like, oh, guys means ghost. So when I'm reading something in German, I can be like, oh, okay, so this means like ghost of something. And there's a lot of them that work like that. So I'm curious to see, like, so is all the German language like that? You just like, there's a lot of combination words that it's kind of easier, because I think German is a pretty hard language. It's sort of, well, you know, you're listening to you're maybe if you see it written, obviously it's going to be much better to figure out what it says and not when people are talking, because obviously, you know, it's a very hard language to again pronounce. So when you're like that, you're reading it, it's like, well, I think I kind of get what the thing is, like what it's trying to say, because again, it's the words are kind of similar. And I think it's not just that, because I think maybe it's in English, I think there are a lot of sort of similar influences, similar words that again, when you're reading them, you can see like where I can sort of get the sense of what this passage is talking about, just, you know, by context clues of just, you know, I think this word means this and this word means that, just because they sound kind of similar, not the same, but similar. But yeah, this was incredibly interesting, and that was it for today, and I'll see you soon. Bye.